Hello, I'm Dave Green, coming from San Antonio, Texas, here in my office, slant radio shack. Yeah, got pretty neat radios in here that operate ham radio when I get spare moments in my time. I'm going to be talking about a few things today of a couple of questions that have been asked, and I appreciate the questions very much because most of the time it's a question that I wouldn't mind having an answer on as well. Um, this is a question coming from someone that says basically, are fully awakened people subject to still have heavy feelings, experiencing human emotions like depression, things of that nature? And so, first of all, I'll give you a big yes, and then I'll give you from spirit what has come to me, backing up the yes. So, yes, my experience was full illumination. I still don't have the date right. It was definitely November. It's 93, 94, but what's a year or two, right? So that was probably going to be talked about in another tape. But I will say this, that the human had to be humbled before the presence of the spirit that was experiencing this illumination. And the knowledge that came forth, of course, was way beyond human understanding. Even if I was a much learned, educated individual, it wouldn't have been able to take and store all that information that was given in that such a time short of a time frame. But so by coming and feeling and realizing both spiritually and humanly, um, it has something to do with this question actually, and the fact that there are two things going on here. One is the human scene, and the other is the spiritual scene. In the human scene, we know such things as depression, gloom, doom, fear, worry, resentments, pain, all of these things. But the spirit does not have these issues. It does not have any of these feelings. The only feeling it really has, as we're going to talk about, is the feeling of oneness with its creator, God, the Father. So yeah, we do get, we still have human emotions. So that's the bottom line here and on this answer. So hopefully we can do a good job of relaying what's has been given to us from spirit, and we certainly hope so. So since man is mechanical, if you can think in terms of mechanical, since man is mechanical, being a standard issue, if you will, we'll look at a car coming off the line at Detroit. It's got a mold, it's got a body, it's got the onboard computer and everything. It's got a mind, if you will. But all this is mechanical. Now, just within the framework of thinking in terms of this, I realize that all stuff comes from God, and I realize that everything is got God in it. But for practical purposes here, for example, only I'm going to act as if it doesn't have anything but just nuts, bolts, metal, and iron, with some cushioning thrown in. And so it's very mechanical, this human being. And when the soul enters into the mechanical being with grace, it can be lifted up to a whole new level being, and that's mainly done in consciousness. Granted, we can end up with better bodies, we can healthy bodies, we can end up with better pocketbooks and so on, but that's not the reason why we're asking for a lift up in consciousness. And that does not always guarantee that one that knows is going to have all these things, because they're working out their own thing of their unfoldment in the human scene. So don't let that be the only thing there with this example. So if we go back to Christ, we see Christ as a soul working within a mechanical Jesus. So there's your body and so forth, your mind. And Jesus is mechanical just as all mankind is mechanical. In other words, to the best of our knowledge, he was not a superhuman. He certainly did some superhuman things like defy gravity and so on, but he didn't come fully packaged that way that we're aware of. And if he was, there's probably been others that have been so forth from then. But this again is an example. So we're only using the general terms of Jesus, the man was a man, such as you and I. So the soul has no emotions. The soul knows no such thing as depression. It has no knowledge of illness. It has no knowledge of feeling up, down, or anywhere, because how could it be? It was created by the Father, and all was good. So soul has this. Soul has a body, not a body has soul. We've learned this before in the past. And so only knowledge of God's love is actually present at the time of birth for the new mechanical man. And as it grows mechanically. Well, the soul has already grown. It's not like you got a baby within a baby. No, you have an adult soul. You have a fully illumined soul. That what you seek, you already are. And so it's there. You're just not aware of it yet. And I say yet, because hopefully soon you will be. Man being mechanical operates from the physical senses that have been created by ego as a central operating command center, if you will, which is the human body and the human mind. And when we become one with God, knowing that which he knows, we no longer are under the power of body or mind, but yet we still have body and mind present. And being present presents a condition not known anywhere else but on physical earth or physical universe. It would be the same on the other end of the universe as it is in the Milky Way galaxy, in other words. The physical is the physical. The mechanics of this universe are the same. And it's a physical universe as well as a physical earth, and not a spiritual earth or a spiritual universe. So that's what we're seeking, of course. When we are fully awakened, which is the objective of each and every one of us, to know our true identity and become fully aware of that identity, we have the full force of God's grace present. That's body and mind and so forth. Now, the body of the mechanical body and the mechanical mind is of ego. It knows it's happening and it's paralyzed to that act. So when you have your illumination, you're going to be able to still see that human during your experience, at least if you have one similar to me. And it's still there. It's still operating as always. Heartbeat at 80 to 100 beats a minute, and all this kind of stuff. It just doesn't go away. It's still there because you're still the soul in the human, not the human with the soul. But it's having to bow down to these spiritual laws. In other words, it's having to let them permeate into even the human mind. So the human mind is seeing what's going on and the true creative world of God. Um, and this is, the great reality within the great movie, if you will. And so it's being brought to its knees in this act, but it's not dying and it's not being changed any. So after the experience is done with, in my case, it was approximately 15 minutes human time, the best I could be aware of. Since I didn't know it was coming on, I couldn't look and see what time of the day it was human time and do some kind of clocking on that. But after the experience is reached, its peak, the highest point, you'll know when you're there because you're almost extinguishing the essence of that body and mind. You could extinguish it, but you're not going to be healing it or changing it mentally, physically, or any of that stuff. But that's the peak. And that is the withdrawal of the spiritual knowledge that's being given to you back into the human world. So you're right back to where you were before, but the soul is actually been totally illumined. And you're aware of that illumination. You're not able to remember everything in there. As a matter of fact, I only had like 10 things I could remember out of the event, and literally there was just so much that was given to me. um, it would take volumes in any large library. The great Carnegie Library in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, couldn't hold enough books if it was written in books. It's that much knowledge. And so there's some things that are left behind in the experience, but one of the things is not a change of human emotions. So voila, you still have the same human mechanical being, just like anything else that's mechanical. Nothing's changed if nothing's changed, and nothing in the physical has been changed, nor do we seek that change as we've been talking about. So now the soul functions as never before while in the human scene, but the body and mind still pretty much stay the same. Remember that God did not create a mechanical man. There was no mechanical man created by our Father. Ego did. Mechanical man belongs to mechanical world of woe or the world of dreams, whichever way you want to look at it. It's all the same. So consciousness has been enlightened, not, I repeat, not body and mind been enlightened. It was aware of the enlightenment going on, but it had no knowledge of it. And that's why we're not able to remember everything, because it couldn't hold what it can't hold. And Paul speaks of this when he says, man's not permitted to tell another man this, and that's because it's God language. And a mechanical man does not understand a free soul, a free moving soul. It just can't. They're two different things. And so from this, you'll see and you'll find that the great treasure, that which you're seeking, this great treasure returned to the same body as before, but with a higher state of consciousness. But consciousness, again, is not body or mind. This is Christ consciousness. And Christ was our key example to presenting this higher consciousness that is known as the great reality of the great movie. And that was his true spiritual body that was actually seen by those few humans that knew him best. It seems kind of natural that we would be missing home. Someone had asked about homesickness, and I think that question is a question that is really an answer, actually, within the question. And so we know a mechanical man and body and mind We now know of Christ consciousness, and that is being fulfilled in a full blown illumination. Uh, just a wake up call. That's all it really is. So it's not some traumatic experience or anything you got to go up on top of Pikes Peak in the U.S. or the highest mountains uh, in the in Nepal or places of that nature. So it can happen in your own kitchen just as it did me. That's the good news. Now back to this homesickness. When we're looking for this higher state of consciousness, we feel the tug. That presents homesickness, and when homesickness is feeling like this really is not your true home, this is part of that fail-safe uh, barrier that was pre-built in the pre-mortal life when we came upon deciding to come to Earth with human mechanical bodies. And so, because you are God consciousness, and that consciousness knows that mechanical body and Earth is not the true home, well, we seem that we are on a far away outpost. That's how it kind of seems. If you ever saw the movie Dancing with Wolves, it's kind of like that. I mean, you're just out there and you're all alone, and there is what communications, if any, is slow in getting to you. And since I deal a lot with communications, I know how how this could feel like if you had the only radio in the world of woe and you're trying to get a signal out to the other end of the Milky Way. It could be a while before you get your signal out, and then you get lucky enough to have a return signal come back. And so this was actually our fail safe of our program of the soul to return to its home. And so it's like everything else here. When we see disabled bodies, we see wars where people lose limb, loss of life, heartbreak by the many. We start to question this place, because if these things weren't part of our world, we would think we are in utopia. We would think that this is the garden and we got anything and everything we need. So if a scorpion would never actually sting you, a rattlesnake would never bite you, men would never shoot at you, then why would we want to go anywhere but stay here? So this is a fail-safe that we set up, that we wouldn't stay sleeping forever, because time in man time is nothing compared to God time, universal God time. It is nothing, 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 nothing. So we basically have been lost forever in this dream. And this is where we find out that the machines do break down and end up as junk in a junkyard. Bad liver, bad lungs, bad heart, bad this, bad that, or accident this, accident that. It's all the same. It ends up in the junkyard. There is no permanency to this planet or this universe. Everything resonates the same. It's because it's the same substance. It's a substance that is apart from God. And once we realize that, we realize that now we're not buying into this dream anymore. Not the way we used to buy into it. We're now looking for the great reality of the great movie, because that is our home, and we are truly homesick. So we long to go home. And, truth is in our home, and home is our truth. We need nothing more or less in being everlasting. Embrace that feeling of homesickness, is what the Spirit is saying to you. Know that it is your signal coming from a long distance communication sent by your God, your Father that is in heaven, and that you can return by means of the signal. If the signal can make it through, you can make it through. So take heart in your homesickness. Your consciousness has expanded to a height of knowing you do not belong to this world of dreams. You belong to the Spirit of God, and God is where that Spirit is, and that is everywhere outside of this world. So be joyful in knowing there is a true home, one not marked by 70, 80, or 90, or 100 years of age before it goes to the junkyard, but an endless body, one that is everlasting upon everlasting. And ask your true self within to help you think upon this guide to get you back to your home. Just like Dorothy was trying to go home in The Wizard of Oz. Utilize this as Glinda, the good witch that has come to tell you how to get back. And that's within your own self. And clicking your heels 3 times, meditating 3 times, praying 3 times, whatever, it only has to happen in just a minute moment of mankind's time, which is nothing compared to reality time, God time, and build upon that feeling of homesickness. So I really do appreciate these questions. I think it's good to know that these can have spiritual questions, can have spiritual answers, and it just gives you more to continue your search for yourself, to have your illumination. That's what it's all about. You don't need me. You don't need a guru or anything like that. All you need is to click those heels 3 times, and that's it. And say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Yeah. And I hope you have a peaceful day, evening, and we'll see you again real soon. Thank you.